guys, what's going on? This is the conservative speaking, and I wanted to talk about the $1.2 trillion infrastructure plan. So the $1.2 trillion infrastructure plan was a piece of legislation that was signed into law by President Biden. And it's supposed to include a lot of spending that supposedly is supposed to go into the American people, along with the other basic things that it's supposed to supply. It's supposed to supply funding for roads, highways, but a lot of it really is nothing but progressive spending. In one of the in what's also was part of the infrastructure spending bill, I really call it the Green New Deal, because it's really nothing more but government expansion spending, meaning that there's going to be more government control over the very things that they are spending money on. But one of the deals, one of the programs that the infrastructure plan is supposed to be supporting is the SALT proposal, which is a state and local tax. And the state and local tax really is nothing more than a tax break for the high earners, as you will see right here. And this is according to the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, that the new SALT proposal will improve House bill. Now, as we look here, it will say, so far, nearly every proposal introduced or suggested to change the state and local tax deduction cap will be unnecessarily costly and regressive. However, two new proposals, one for Representative Gerald Golden, Democrat from Maine, and the other moderately by the Tax Policy Center, represent significant improvements. Though there are issues with almost any changes to the SALT cap, these proposals, the Golden proposal in particular, will dramatically reduce costs and regressively related to the proposal included in the House passed version of the Build Back Better Act. The first proposal, modeled by the Tax Policy Center, would increase the current $10,000 SALT deduction cap to $25,000 for those making up to $400,000 per year. So, once again, this is a tax break for the high earners. Okay, that's what it's meant for. It's meant for the high earners. The cap will also then be phased back down to $10,000 for those earning between $400,000 and $500,000 per year in the adjusted gross income. So I just want you guys to take this in for a minute. All right, this is a progressive bill, all right, that is going to have to be paid back by the taxpayers, and part of the spending is going to go towards providing tax cuts for the high earners. All right, so think about this. You are a middle class earner. You're counting your nickels and pennies, and yet you are going to have to pay for tax cuts, really for tax cuts for the rich, while you struggle. And then, not to mention, you are going to have to pay this back by having to pay an increase in goods and services. Gotta love it. Gotta love America. But this bill does not benefit the American people. It benefits the American elites. Here we go here. The second proposal, suggested by Golden in the Washington Post, will fully repeal the $10,000 SALT deduction cap, but only for those making less than $175,000 per year. According to Golden, this would help The small number of truly middle-class families who benefit from the deduction by lifting the cap for essentially the bottom 80% of households in the country. We assume the cap will be phased back in between $175,000 and $225,000 of income, though policymakers could consider a different phase-in. Then, based on TPC data, we estimate increasing the cap to $25,000 for those earning $400,000 will cost roughly $95 billion, with 36% going to the top 5% of households by income and 86% going to the top quintile. By comparison, the House proposal to lift the cap to $80,000 will cost $275 billion. Get this, $275 billion with a B, billion dollars, with 70% going to the top 5% of earners and 94% to the top quintile. So, question, and keep in mind, right? The Democrats, especially the Democrats that actually the House Democrats that passed this bill, right? And then it winds up getting signed, and then it winds up getting votes from the Democrats in the Senate before the Democratic president then signs it into law. These are the same Democrats who state that they are for the American people and they are for the middle class workers and the low class workers, and yet they're the ones that are going to have to pay for a tax deduction for the high earners. These are the same Democrats that state that they are for the working class and for the lower class citizens, and yet it's the working class and the lower class citizens that are going to have to wind up paying $275 billion with a B, billion, $275 billion to give tax cuts to the rich. All right, or tax cuts to the high earners. Ask this question, all right? Just ask this question. I want people to really answer this question for me. If Democrats claim that they are for the working class and the lower class family, if they're really for the working class and for the lower class, then why are they making them front the bill for the very high earners? Can anyone answer that question for me? I mean, this is the same party that claims they're for the working class and for the lower class, and yet they're going to pay, and yet they want the high class, they want the working class and the lower class to pay $275 billion to give tax breaks to the very top earners, so that they can be able to use that deduction towards their income so that they can pay less taxes. It's the poor, it's the working and the poor that are benefiting the rich. And keep in mind, these were House Democrats and House Senate that voted for this bill. And you guys, and the ones that vote Democrats, you guys continue to keep voting for the very same people that wind up screwing the very people that the Democrats claim they represent. Amazing, isn't it? Isn't that amazing? The Golden Proposal will do even better than the plan that the tax policy center model. Based on the very rough estimates, it will cost only $25 billion, with none of the benefits going towards the top 5% and only $35 going to the top quintile. We know that's not true. Now, I want you guys to take a look at this graph right here. Who benefits from the SALT relief? Well, according to the graph, it looks like the top 5% are the ones that are going to really benefit from this, and the people at the bottom like the bottom 0%, and the people at the bottom are the ones that are not going to get anything from it. Yet they're the ones that are going to be the ones paying for this progressive bill. All right. I mean, we're talking about billions and billions. I mean, we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars that are actually going to go towards the rich, towards the top earners. And guess who's going to front the bill? You guessed it, the lower class and the working class. All right. Neither of these proposals will provide much benefit to those in the bottom 60% of the income spectrum, which is mainly working class and lower class people. All right. Your typical 9 to 5. I mean, people that work 9 to 5, or people who work and make less than $175,000 a year. Those people are screwed. They wind up paying. They wind up paying and benefiting the very elites. You know, the top high earners. You know, they wind up getting a pass based on what the lower class and the middle class are going to have to wind up paying for. And then not to mention, then they have to worry about inflation. And then they have to worry about inflation and having to pay all of this money. Have to wind up paying all of this money back through increases in cost of goods and services. So they're just, the middle class and the lower class are watching, are going to watch their funds dwindle and dwindle and dwindle and dwindle. All right, they're going to take more money out of your pocket. And then they're going to take even more money out of your pocket when the cost of goods and services increase. So now you're going to have to budget even more for costs. I mean, for goods and services that have seen an increase over whatever you paid last year. And trust me, inflation is already here, and it's only going to get. It's only going to get worse. You see, for the elites, they can afford it. I mean, it's not going to change their bottom line, but for the working class and for the lower class, I mean, people that literally live paycheck to paycheck, who really can't afford to miss a dime out of their paycheck, now they're going to see themselves lose even more dimes. And now they're going to have to no longer budget for things that they once could have budgeted for a year ago. Ask me that question. Is that America? Doesn't sound American to me. But let's move on. In Washington, D.C., an illustrative example, the SALT relief proposal includes the House passed Build Back Better Act would provide $3,000 in tax cuts to a household making $200,000 a year. $11,600 tax cut to a household making $400,000 a year, and a $25,900 tax cut to a household making $1 million. TPC model proposal will provide the same benefit to the household making $200,000, but less than $5,000 for the household making $400,000, and nothing for the households making $500,000 or more. Meanwhile, the Golden proposal will provide nearly $1,500 for a household making $200,000, and no additional tax cuts for a household earning over $225,000 per year. And as you can see right here, who benefits from the SALT relief? The top earners. I want you guys to really pay attention to this graph. Look at all the people that make about $50,000 a year, and anyone that makes less than $150K a year. they don't get any type of benefits, no relief at all. All right, but look at the people that make 150K. You can use about $1,300 for tax cuts. All right. For people that make 200K a year, $2,900, yeah, $2,970 worth of tax cuts that the middle class and lower class will have to wind up paying for. Look at the people that make $300,000 a year. $5,800 in tax cuts that they can use. 400K, $11,000, and it seems like the more you earn, the more tax cuts you get. It is amazing. It's amazing. It's an amazing thing that that the rich continue to get richer off of the very backs of the people who make up a vast majority of the U.S. economy, which is middle class working people, and they're the ones that are bailing out the elitists. They're the ones that are bailing out the high earners, and what do they get back for? And what do they get? What do they wind up getting back for their contribution to high earners paying less in taxes? Well, they get more taxes taken out. That's what they get. Can we at least get a thank you card from the elitists? At least a thank you card. We don't expect them to write a check for saving the money, but can we at least get a thank you card? All right. So this bill really benefits anyone making 150K or higher. If you make 150K or higher, you're definitely going to get thousands of dollars back in tax breaks. You know what I mean? So that's money that they can practically use against their income, and they'll wind up paying less in taxes. All right. And think about it. What percentage of people make about 150K? Less than 10%? And that's of the US population. Amazing. Though few households making below $150,000 per year will benefit from any form of SALT relief, those who do will receive those who would receive the full benefit of the SALT deduction under both of these proposals. Unlike the House proposal, neither the Golden nor TPC model proposal will offer benefits to family in the top 2% of earners or those making $500,000 or more. So what they're saying is that if you make $500,000, you won't get any tax benefits. But look right here. Earners that make $500,000 will get a $16,000 tax credit that we have to pay for. Can we get a tax credit? Absolutely not. All right. And then I want you guys to take a look at this. SALT relief will still be a costly part of the bill. Now, here are all the things that are being paid. This is practically the $1.2 trillion so-called infrastructure plan. It's really more of the Green New Deal. $275 billion going towards tax cuts for the top earners in America. All right, I'll say for the top 1 to 3% earners in America. $275 billion wasted. Child care program, $270 billion. Now I obviously have something to say about that, and what I have to say about that is simple. If women were to stop working like men, stay home, and take care of the children, then you won't have to worry. Then taxpayers won't have to worry about paying $270 billion in child care program, because the mothers are the ones that are supposed to take care of the children. But because we have a society in which mothers can pretend to be like men and work like men, now you have this type of issue. $270 billion of U.S. taxpayer money should not go towards child care program. All right. If couples were to stay married, if there were defined roles in the family, then $270 billion could go right back to the taxpayer. Okay, keep in mind, there are people here that live paycheck to paycheck. They can't afford to have their money being taken away over programs that are only going to what's the word I'm looking for? That will only enable the problem. This will not solve any problem. This will enable it. All this is going to do now is to make it to where families, especially single women, especially children that are raised in a single parent household, all this is going to do is increase single parent households. And we all know that single parent households do not work in America, especially in the black community. But something like this is only going to enable the issue. It's not going to help the issue. Then you have the SALT cap repeal for earners making less than $475K to $950K. So again, $220 billion for a SALT cap repeal. Child tax credit expansion, $190 billion. And what do you think this is going to do? If people know that this type of money is flowing around, first thing that they're going to do is do everything that they can to grab the money, even though they are not legally eligible to take the money. All right. Child tax credit expansion does two things. All it does is it enables women to continue to have children out of wedlock, so that they can get paid for every single child that they get. And this also will encourage fraud, because now this is going to encourage people to start claiming children that are not theirs, just so that they can get a piece of the child tax credit check that we the people are going to have to wind up writing. Ask me, is that American? Long-term care investments. Yeah, I guess more money into Medicare. Housing programs is about $150 billion, and I believe that the housing program is really going to go towards the federal government's federally zoning areas. So what they're going to do is they're going to start putting they're going to start putting low-income high-rises in suburban areas. That's what they plan on doing with this money. SALT cap repeal for anyone making under 400K. This is pretty much just going to the top earners. All right. SALT cap repeal, and then a SALT cap repeal again. This is just going to the top earners. $135 billion, and then $130 billion going towards Obamacare. Okay, giving the government even more restraint and more control over the healthcare industry. which all this is going to do is cause more increases in the premiums. Universal pre-K, $110 billion. Again, wasteful spending. What do you need universal pre-K for? Pre-kindergarten. For what? This pretty much what all this is child daycare centers. $110 billion for child daycare centers. All right? Keep in mind, this is money that's coming out of we the people's pocket. All right? Do we need to spend $110 billion on universal pre-K? No. What we should do, or what should happen, is that women shouldn't have children out of wedlock. If women didn't have children out of wedlock, then women wouldn't have to worry about paying for daycare centers. All right. Also keep in mind, all right, once again, having defined roles in the family. The man works, the woman stays at home. Honestly, universal pre-K and the child care program, we can easily eliminate those. Easy. If we had defined roles in the family. But obviously, as you can see, the roles today, especially in this secular world, are not being defined, and that's thanks to the whole feminist movement. 270 billion to 110 billion. I mean, that's $380 billion that should go back to we the people instead of going to programs that are just going to enable untraditional and immoral behavior. 25K salt cap for people making under 400K. That's 95 billion. 40 billion for higher education. So $40 billion is going to go towards free college. That shouldn't be our problem. And with all the crap that they're teaching in college anyways, the simple fact that college teaching is leaning towards the, I mean, not even leaning towards the left. It's part of the left, and it's actually more progressive. Thanks, but no thanks. If you want to pay for it out of your pocket. Taxpayers shouldn't have to be responsible for this. And then Cap Repeal, and then ETIC. So to close, this is part of the $1.2 trillion plan that won't benefit anyone other than elitists and people who choose to allow the government to take care of them. People who choose to be dependent on the government, they'll take advantage of that. But what good will it do for them? This bill does not encourage independence. It encourages more dependence. And it punishes people who want to be independent, because the independent people are the ones that are going to have to come out of their pocket. All right? And not even come out of their pocket. This really will force the government's hand into their pocket to pay for things that are not really going to benefit we the people as a whole. And I want people to understand this. This $1.2 trillion bill will not benefit anyone at all. Not one single person. All right. But I think the good news is that even though the $1.2 trillion infrastructure plan was signed, the Build Back Better plan, which is even more of an expansion of government programs, will more likely die, because although it was passed by the House, it's held up by the Senate due to one senator, Senator Joe Manchin, yes! A Democrat too from West Virginia. He decided that he will not vote on this progressive expansion of welfare. That he knows that we the people are going to have to pay for it, especially the people in West Virginia. They're saying no, 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 no. All right. And Manchin knows that if he signs for this, more likely he will not be reelected as the senator of West Virginia. So kudos to him for doing the right thing, because this has to stop. This honestly has to stop. All right. This is the land of the free, and people should be freely able to earn on their own. And again, just like what it says in the Bible, those that do not work do not eat. And if you want to starve in America, that's on you, because America is the land of opportunities, not the land of handouts. All right? America doesn't owe anybody in this country nothing else other than the opportunity to financially make something of yourself. All right? And if you're able to make something of yourself, and if you're willing to work hard and pound your fist to the pavement, then financially you will be rewarded. And if you don't, well then you'll suffer. All right? It's sink or swim. You're either going to swim, work hard, figure it out, all right, and be able to be compensated with an abundance of money doing so, or you'll starve. Choice is yours. But let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment in the comment section after you subscribe to my channel. Smash the like button, obviously, if you like this video, and I'm sure I presented it in a perfect way. After you subscribe to my channel, leave a comment and share the video, because I believe this information is very important. Subscribe to the channel, and also after you subscribe to the channel, click on the notification button so that you'll know whenever new content from my channel drops. And with that being said, this is D Conservative signing out. Have a blessed day, guys.